Hi, I'm Tama Lundquist, co-president of Houston Pet Set, and I'm joined today by my co-president, Tena Lundquist Faust. Hi, Tena. Hi, Tama. For those watching, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Conversations for the Animals. Today, we're joined by Lindsey Hutton. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi.
Marketing. She's the director of marketing for Three Little Pitties Rescue. It's a grantee and partner of Houston Pet Sets. We're incredibly excited for her to join us and discuss her organization's work. Lindsey, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're good. We're so glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you, Lindsey. So starting out, tell us just a little bit about yourself, kind of where you came from, how did you land in Houston if this isn't your home, and what inspired you to work in animal welfare and with Three Little Pitties?
So I actually moved to Galveston in 2012. I was born here and I was raised in the Woodlands area. So when I moved to Galveston, I didn't know anybody. I couldn't find a job. I couldn't, find anything that brought me joy. So I figured I better start volunteering or doing something with my time. So I signed up at the Galveston Island Humane Society and I volunteered there for 2 years steady, did all kinds of things, took pictures, gave baths, walked dogs, did laundry, anything I could to help, to be involved. And I was there literally every waking moment that I could be. So after a few disagreements with some structural things at the shelter, I decided to leave. And that's when I met Elena, who you guys know. We were working with another rescue and things kind of had a falling out with them. So Elena called me one day in December 2017 and went, "Do you want to start a rescue?" And I was like, "Let's do it. Why not?" So we met at a Mexican food restaurant for dinner in December of 2017 and kind of put the structural stuff in order. And that's where we are at now. I'm still here.
Great story. Yeah, so glad you did. You've done important work. Tell us a little bit more about Three Little Pitties, the history, the mission, and the goals of the organization.
So we started very small and we are about to turn 3 years old this year. Our mission is basically to help solve the homelessness problem here and the overpopulation problem here. Sending dogs out of state to Washington and the Pacific Northwest has been a complete blessing for us because there are people there that want animals to be a part of their family and, want to spay and neuter, and they have spay and neuter laws, all great things going for them. So, our mission is just to get dogs out of Texas, also try to solve the problem here. We have grown so much. I know you guys know that in just 3 short years. So it's a great organization to be a part of. And, we love doing this.
Well, you guys do a really, really good job at it. And we know that you have accomplished a lot. You've grown a lot in the last 3 years. In 2020, what were some of your major accomplishments? We kind of know a little bit about them, but we'd love it if you share it with everybody else.
Yeah, so in May of 2020, we got our first facility, our home base location in Friendswood, Texas, south of Houston. So that is super cool. And then around that same time, we also have an 18-wheeler semi-truck that we are now using for transport, which has been just total change for us. Some learning curves with a truck, but it's really, really cool. And all of our adopted animals get to travel that way now. And we also took in 120 dogs from Mexico, which was crazy. Not sure how we did it. It was a lot of long hours and a lot of work, but those are probably our 3 biggest accomplishments of 2020.
One other follow-up question. How many animals did you guys wind up transporting?
This year or in 2020?
In 2020 in total also.
I don't have the exact numbers, but the last time I checked at the last transport in December was like 3,500.
Wow.
All to adopters, basically. 95% of them go to adopters.
That's so cool, Lindsey. It's so nice to know that these animals, they leave here, they're on a little bit of a mission, they're a little bit of an adventure, we like to think of it. And then they arrive there and they're at their forever home. And I mean, what more could we want for these animals who have suffered here on our streets and in our shelters? And so those are such great stories. Tell us a little bit more about how Three Little Pitties operates when it comes to adoption and fostering. And do you have partners that you depend on to make that happen?
So we are really lucky to have our director of operations, Janelle, is in Marysville, Washington. So she grew our foster base in no time. We have over 100 fosters in Washington. We, don't really depend on other groups to take dogs from us because we have so many people wanting to adopt dogs that we don't have a need and we don't have extra dogs to send to partners. We have been, as you guys know, but we just really, okay, I have to start over. Sorry. I got distracted on my answer, but I have my questions. I didn't want to read them. So sorry about that.
No worries.
Sorry. Okay.
You're doing great, Lindsey.
Thank you. Okay, adoption and fostering. If you want to start over, I'll do that. Okay.
Or you can just start because I was happy with mine. So they'll just take the question, how does Three Little Pitties operate when it comes to adoption and fostering? And do you have partners that you depend on to make that happen?
Okay, perfect. Now let me see where I'm at. So our program with adoption and fostering, we have several people involved. We have an adoptions director who handles all of the coordinators, and we have like 24 coordinators that handles all the dogs that come through the program. We have somebody who does fostering, who handles all the fosters, who handles medical intake. So it's a lot of people working together as a team to kind of get our end goal of adoption. And we don't really depend on other people to help us take animals because the majority of our dogs go to Washington straight to adopters. Janelle, our director of operations, is in Washington. We have over 100 fosters in the Pacific Northwest. And we have people up there that handle the Pacific Northwest coordinators and Pacific Northwest fosters. And, there's probably 10 or 15 people that just do the managing of adoptions. So
it's amazing when we tell people that we transport. I think a lot of times they think we drive around with the bus and we load animals up and we just drive them north. And there is so much coordination that goes on with transport. And I know you can tell us a little bit more about that because you're the expert in that. But how does people are familiar with adoption in Houston and in their cities, but how does your adoption model differ from other organizations?
So we really try to make our rescue like a family. We want people to be able to feel comfortable talking to us, asking us questions. And we want to make sure that we're giving all of the knowledge that we can on the dog, that we're doing everything medically necessary for the dog before they go to their home. So that's connecting the adopter with the foster to do a FaceTime, or when the dog is already in Washington doing a meet and greet. Things that kind of make our fosters and our adopters feel super comfortable. That's really important because when they're adopting a dog long distance, sometimes I know people have had really bad experiences with things being a scam and, money being stolen, things like that. So we really want to just be really transparent and open and honest with our adopters and with our fosters. We want our fosters to be able to know where that dog is going that they've put their heart into. And I think I've heard that a lot of rescues aren't really great on that connection between foster and adopter. And people are wondering where their dog went and what happened to that dog. And they're spent the rest of their life wondering, well, with us, they have an opportunity to, really become a family with us and make it a close-knit thing.
Yeah, because when you adopt out, you actually adopt in another state. So you're never face to face with that person. I know you guys do FaceTime and you do checks. You have them, go through their homes with their FaceTime, their cameras, and make sure that, they live where they say they live and all of those things. So your adoption process it's very distant.
Yeah.
So you have to think about a lot of things that other adopters don't, or other rescues don't, when they're just face to face. Right. So, Lindsey, we've worked with you. Houston Pet Set has worked with Three Little Pitties before when in transport and in other ways. Can you tell the viewers how important it is how important transport is when it comes, I'm going to start that over.
Mhm.
Lindsey, Houston Pet Set and Three Little Pitties have worked together when it comes to transport, but just let our viewers know how important transport is when it comes to solving the animal welfare crisis that we have in Houston.
Oh, I wish I could start somewhere that made sense, because not everybody agrees with transporting. They don't think they know the person enough, or what they're doing is right, and they get these feelings. And there are people that are still very, let's do Houston, let's do Houston. And I read an article that really stuck with me a couple years ago, and it said to solve the problem in Houston, that every person would need to own around 10 dogs. And that's not household, that's person. There's just not enough adopters in Houston. There's not enough, you know, people for the dogs. So when we transport out of state, we're going to an area that they have spay and neuter laws. So they don't have unwanted litters of puppies. They don't have people backyard breeding. They don't have their shelters just busting at the seams full of animals. They have laws and things that help those animals. So, transport is so important for us, because we're not only making that family complete, because I've talked to people who have been searching for a dog for years, and they're like, we can't get approved, or we filled out 100 applications, and there's always this many applications for this dog. I mean, people wait a long time to find their perfect match up there, because there's a shortage of dogs.
Yes, we know that, and we agree that transport is critical to solving this problem, because when the animal is taken off of the street or out of the shelter, or out of a rescue group, it makes room for another one to come off of the street. And so to provide that great outcome, a loving home for those animals, is critical. And also then we don't have, you said transported 3,000 animals last year. That's 3,000 animals that aren't on our streets breeding. They're not having litters of other dogs. So we know that it's a true benefit, and it's going to be necessary to transport in order to solve this problem. What are the benefits from the community? Do you get any feedback? And what is kind of what happens when we do transport lots of animals in a community?
So what we have heard about from the community, which is pretty great, is that we are what we think one of the bigger rescues in Houston that are taking a lot of pit bulls. A lot of rescues won't take pit bulls. They're scared of the liability, and that's kind of always been our heart. And we help people that don't want to send their dog to a shelter, that have to surrender their dog for whatever reason, and we find that dog a home that is not just a $25 rehoming fee or whatever. We do our due diligence in the background of that. But our community is really happy to, I think, have found a rescue that will actually help. And that there are ways that they can find help through us. On our website, there's a tab that pops up, says help with an animal, like need help with an animal ? So it's like right there in your face, like, oh, I do need help with an animal. And then it gives you the situations like, did I find this dog? And is this my owned dog? And kind of what our requirements are. But I think the community sees that we're trying to, take as many and move as many as we can, because that saves more. But also, so we can spay and neuter down here and not have the need. Of course, we always want to transport, and make those happy endings happen. But if we wouldn't have to transport, it would be a world of difference down here.
Just prevent the litters. We agree.
Yeah.
We hope to work ourselves all of us out of a job very soon for the animals' sake, right?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I know. It would be so great to know that they're all taken care of. And I'm sure, that you get to hear some of these stories on the receiving end. That is the most rewarding part of the work, is to know that these animals know what they come from and then know what they go to. And do you have any stories you want to share with us about some of the successes you've had by taking dogs from Houston and bringing them to the Pacific Northwest?
I would love to. That's like my favorite part. It makes all the stress worth it. We're so lucky to have a group. We have a private group on Facebook for our adopters. And right now, when I checked before we did this, there was 2,800 people in it.
Wow.
And that is, over half of our adopters, and some of them don't have Facebook, but it's a really good way for them to stay connected with us and share pictures and litter mates and all this other stuff. It's really cool. But one of my favorite stories is actually one of the dogs that we first saved within the first 6 months of being three little pitties. A friend of mine brought him to my house. He was probably 6 weeks old, found on a wildlife farm, only dog around, puppy, skin and bones. He was awful. I fostered him and I got him adopted to the Pacific Northwest. And then in 2019, the Three Little Pitties team traveled to Washington, and we got to go to dinner at their house in Washington. And it was so neat seeing him. Like, they had him outside, they kept his name. He came up and greeted me, and they just welcomed us like family. And it was so awesome to see where he lived. And, like, it was just mind blowing. It was magical. Really, it was so cool. So
I don't know if you get emotional telling that story, but I get emotional just hearing it. I see Tina's wiping her eyes too. I want to go see my fosters. So
yeah.
precious. I mean, it's just so precious. They're just so brave. I look at them every time they get on the bus and I'm like, you're so brave to trust us. We let you down so many times. We let you down. We've overbred you. We haven't taken care of you. We don't get you off the streets in a timely manner, but yet you trust us to put you on this bus, and you go and you go, and you still know how to love, and you still know how to care, and you still know how to be that presence in a home that I don't think anything else brings. A baby does for sure, but I mean, they're a lot more expensive and a lot more work. So, getting a dog in your home is so precious. And I love to hear those stories. And I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you're able to share that, because people do know how transport ends up. They do know that this is an important piece of solving the problem. So thank you for sharing that. And
You're welcome.
bless you for saving that doggy, and bless you. And I'm sure it was a wonderful reunion, and I'm sure he did too.
This is so funny. So I'm going to add, the Three Little Pitties was very young at this point, and we really didn't have a whole lot of money. And I really thought he was going to die in my garage. I was like, this dog, it was June. He had lice, he had everything you could think of. And he made it through the first 2 nights. And I was like, all right, you're a trooper. So his name is Trooper. And I get Christmas cards from them. I mean, I love them. We still text. She checks on me when there's hurricanes. I mean, they've really become just part of a family for me. And it's just really special to have that relationship and somebody that knows that you loved them as much as they love you now.
So precious, so special. So if there's anybody else who's thinking about this, whether they be in Houston, Texas, the Pacific Northwest, and they might see this, what advice do you have for somebody who would like to adopt or even foster?
So I always tell people that want to adopt from us, our first basically impression of someone is their application. So don't give me one word answers. I want to know, I want as much information from you as possible. I always tell people, when you fill out an application, be thorough, be honest, have a conversation with someone, and don't be scared to have that conversation. There are several ways, we're on Pet Finder, we're on Adopt a Pet, we're on Pet Established, Whistle Pet Network, all these things where our dogs are located. So, and our adoptions move fairly quickly. So I just encourage people to check our website for adoption opportunities, for fostering opportunities. There's always a foster opportunity in Houston or the Pacific Northwest. And we have so many fosters in the Pacific Northwest that are like, oh, if I was in Houston, I'd foster that dog, when we're looking for one, because they really love it. But right now we don't have any events going on or anything like that, but we always need adults at transport every 2 weeks for volunteer opportunities. And we always have a bunch of animals to choose from that need a foster. So there's ways.
Yes, Houston needs more fosters. We so agree with that. And it's one of kind of the gaps that we need to fill in this quest for solving the problem. So I'm glad you brought that up. If people want to get involved with you, we've talked about fostering. What are some other ways that they can get involved with Three Little Pitties and help make a difference?
I always tell people just sharing our posts on Facebook, or, if you're not going out right now because of COVID, and, just networking, and there's people from out of state that network dogs in Houston. Um, anything helps. Buying something on our Amazon wish list that we don't have to buy, even just the little things, they add up. Cotton balls and paper towels, things like that. Now that we have our location, it's a lot easier for us to have more volunteer opportunities. Like, we need laundry done, and we need dogs walked, and we need all kinds of things. So we have a volunteer group on Facebook as well that people can join if they're interested in being a volunteer and helping out. And there's always something, picking a dog up here, bringing it here, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't see.
Yeah, we know well, just from our transport program, we know we're constantly on the run, shuffling, just, yeah, but somehow it always comes together.
It does.
And I was going to say, if people do want to get involved, but they can't foster, they can't adopt, they can always donate to you too, right, Lindsey? Because
Absolutely.
we know that these transports are expensive. We know most of the dogs that you're pulling from the streets are taking from people who have to surrender them. Oftentimes they're sick, or they're hurt, they're injured, and you have to vet them and get them spayed and neutered, and they need their shots, and they need heartworm treatment. So every dog that goes on that bus, I know you guys have taken care of it to get it healthy, to transport it. So donate to is also a way that people can get involved.
What I have found is that if people can't see the injury or see things, it's a lot harder for them to donate to like a cause. For us, we take in a ton of heartworm positive dogs. Ton. I mean, a lot of heartworm positive dogs. We're not scared of them. There's a lot of people that won't take them in because they take longer, and they all different reasons, but doesn't make them any less deserving to have an opportunity to be adopted. So I always, we have a thing on our website that's a pit crew program where it's a donation every month, and it's kind of a fun thing. We send updates on the dogs and all of that. So we kind of like to make it fun for people who want to donate monthly, or even just buying something from our website to wear, a t-shirt or anything. It helps go towards our cause.
I love pit crew. That's so cute. Great idea.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So Lindsey, we might have touched on this, but are there any specifics people should know before they contact Three Little Pitties for assistance?
So I wish people understood that we're not animal control. We don't have a team of people on the ground to be able to go pick up an injured animal, or we might sometimes. It just depends on who's in the area. But we get so many calls of, oh, I just found this dog, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, your best bet is to call animal control, and then we kind of go from there, and the shelters help rescues by doing heartworm tests and doing those things. And I wish people knew that there shouldn't be a disconnect between shelter and rescue, because we all kind of try to work together the best that we can. But I want people to know that you got to help us help you. You can't just expect us to do all of it. It's kind of, we want you to know what's involved in all of these things, and it takes a village. So it's a lot of work. It's not as simple as tag that dog and just go get it. It's so not that easy.
Yes, that so makes sense. And we get a lot of those calls too. And it is challenging to try to help all of the people that are out there trying to rescue dogs on their own. We need more resources in Houston. The one other thing I'd like to point out about Three Little Pitties is you have a self-sustaining model, correct? Your adoption fees help sustain your organization, isn't that unique in a way?
I would say so. It's not uncommon for the adoption fees that we have for a dog to go for that same adoption fee at a shelter in the Pacific Northwest. So it's not any different from them adopting from a shelter than them adopting from out of state, because the adoption fees are kind of the same. Mm-hmm. But when we do profit a little bit on a puppy, or a cute fluffy or something, because we are mostly a pit bull rescue. We get a few of those scruffies sometimes, but you know, we just put that back into our program, and that goes to help the other dogs. And so, you know, I honestly don't know how we've done it, but it's always worked out in our favor how we have. And just, you know, putting a little away in our savings and saying, we've got to have, you know, 3 months of our money, our bills to be in our savings in case there's an emergency or hurricane or something. So, you know, we've done really well with balancing our adoption fees with our medical costs. And, you know, we work with several vets who give us better options and more, you know, financially smarter options when it comes to medical care and things like that. And we always have someone on speed dial to call, which is really nice. But yeah, it does help having those adoptions because we save a lot of large pit bull type dogs. So, and a lot of them are heart positive, but it all goes back to the dogs and helps us, you know, save more.
Yes, yeah, it's a smart model. Well, we've covered a lot of great things today. It's been so wonderful talking to you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we sign off?
I just want to add that we are so grateful for our partnership with Houston Pet Vet. You guys have helped us a lot um, in getting where we are and helping us do some more spay neuter in the community, which is where our heart is. We've always done it, but it's come out of our own pockets. And so now that we have the grant from you guys, it's going to be very, very helpful. And I think we're going to be a little overwhelmed, but we are happy to do it to help solve that overpopulation problem. So we're just forever grateful to you guys for all you do for us and all the help and the assistance and grants and everything.
Well, we're so grateful to you. And this is what collaboration is about, you know, when we can work together as a team and we can help so many more animals, we can help the community. And it's really a textbook case of collaboration. So we're very grateful to Three Little Pitties, the work that you do for so many animals. And it's hard to imagine what our city would look like without you guys. So bless you, thank you. And we hope to continue this great work with you for a long, long time.
We do too. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you especially for placing some importance on the pit bulls. We know Houston has a lot of them and it's right in your name and you wave the flag. And we're so, so grateful for that because they are the sweetest dogs and they're wonderful, wonderful pets. And so thank you for placing the focus on them. And as Tena said, for being just wonderful partners and doing everything you do for the city. We should all take our hats off to you and say thank you, Three Little Pitties, for everything.
Yes, and thank you guys too. Treat like, you know, teamwork makes the dream work. So
So true. Well, thank you again for joining us and for showcasing how these partnerships work. We love, again, working with you. To anybody watching at home, please connect with us directly if you have any questions, any concerns. We'd like to work with everybody out there, and we know that this is key to solving the problem. So thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Tama. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll be back soon. Bye. Bye.